I'm gonna change that overlay. In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, it is Patience. In the top left is the Red Terran, it is GuMiHo for Psystorm. Does anyone know why it's called the Olimoleague? Well, Olimoleague started it, and it was something that I think she came up with, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's where the name came from. There was a Patreon reward which let you rename the tournament for like a month or something, I think, a while ago, but no one really took it up. And I think it also was potentially a problem, which is branding, so it doesn't happen anymore. But I think at one point it was the Bobble Convolute Olimoleague or something like that. Bit absurd. That's the cool thing, is that, you know, the Patreon has other rewards besides just the replay pack, but let's be honest, the replay pack's the best thing. There's a lot of good players in Olimoleague, and I mean, this Olimoleague here, the replay pack I'm casting from this week, had so many signups, it was kind of insane. You do have Patience with the 7x4 before Nexus opener, but this is like, I mean, even 50% of PvTs nowadays, I want to say. Reaper's on the way, and then Command Center all normal. I mean, we have a second probe, though, and that's not so normal. It is going to the top right, potentially. That is really weird. Usually, if you're going to have a probe for building anything or further harassment, like either one, you do just use this probe. Unless it's targeted by the Reaper, unless the Reaper sees it, or the SCV scouts, and you want to see the, you want to show the probe coming back home to the SCV. That can be kind of one of those, like, 1,000 IQ strategies. But neither of those things happen, so it would have been possible for Patience to use the first probe, I feel, but maybe I missed something. But second probe was to place down a pylon. It is going to be a proxy robo. Oh, very dirty. Very dirty, Patience. That's not just a Stargate, which can do a little bit of damage, but isn't even really that bothersome. No, that's something more. Now, Patience did, I think, get the appropriate number of pylons down to keep up appearances. As he does have a very heavy supply cap there. I don't like very high supply cap, I guess is the way you would put it, right? And then even higher now that another pylon finished up. Again, I think just to keep up appearances. And that one also blocked out the Reaper, which is like a secondary effect. The reason I'm pretty much believing this has done its job is that GuMiHo is not prepping for any type of proxy. Hellion is going out to see if there might be a pylon or something, because I think why not? Otherwise, Marauder isn't really what you would get, because you're not really assuming. Well, that's super awkward. If you don't know there's a proxy and you're like, well, I might as well look, your first guess is going to be like maybe they're proxying a Stargate, because the one thing the Reaper didn't see, and it is suspicious, is that there was no tech. So it saw the correct number of pylons, perhaps, but it didn't see like a Stargate or a Twilight Council or anything like that. So there is still some suspicion. We're now seeing 3 gateways and still no tech with this Hellion. That's when the alarm bells really go off in his head. He is throwing down a bunker now. A Viking is being produced. If it was a proxy Stargate, it would be appearing now, if not have already appeared, right? So you can kind of get that out of your head. You don't have to worry about being attacked in the main. But what you do have to worry about is a robo, if you're even thinking about a robo. But this might be one of the last things you think about. In which case, a War Prism could be bad news. But that might exactly be why he's getting a Viking. So he doesn't have scouting over here, and that's like a little scary. But the Viking could try and provide that scouting and that defense. This little hit squad of units, all those Marauders actually end up being pretty useful. They don't have concussive shells, but they did help a little bit of that range, right? And picked off the shields of the Immortal. But the Immortal really is going to be quite good against what GuMiHo has. 3 Marauders, well, 2 Marauders and a bunker. Then the force fields, of course, wrap around it. And otherwise, GuMiHo doesn't have a lot to do here. Medevac is going to help repair the SCVs, and hell, that bunker lasted a lot longer than I thought it would. But this already seems like it's game over. I mean, what the hell does GuMiHo have? A tank just pops out to help, but he's going to have to sacrifice some SCVs to actually hold the line. The Warp is going to come through here as the Viking had to leave. It almost died, and it's attempt to chase after it. And unfortunately, that's all that Patience needed. Was a little pickup there. Actually, didn't even really need it. He needed the high ground vision, which Warp Prism or not, he would have had with the depths up on the ramp. Liberator now pops out, and that is very useful, but things have already snowballed a little bit too much. Soccer's coming out here to support whatever anti-air already had, which was 1 sentry. The mass repair and the Liberator is actually working out quite well. Patience misses the pickup on the Stalker. The Adepts are a little trapped inside Liberation Zone, and actually, can GuMiHo do this? He was broken so quickly. Considering the timing of all of these units that popped out, they were already being sieged on when they popped out. That is usually terrible news for a Terran player, but this Liberator might just be the hope that GuMiHo needed. A tank is alive and can be placed wherever it is safest, all behind this SimCity. Unfortunately, the Viking has died, though. An Immortal against a tank, even with a mass repair, the Immortal wins. Zealots would have also gotten on top of it just a little bit as well. Liberator's going to try and do the anti-air for the dead Viking, but oh, it sucks at that. It absolutely sucks at that. No shot comes down. The Immortal is saved with literally 23 health right here. A Viking pops out to finally take out the Warp Prism, but the Immortal lives alongside 5 Stalkers, and GuMiHo just laughing through the pain. Just laugh through the tears, you know? GG. Very abusive strategy there. And I do wonder how often GuMiHo has to face a proxy robo nowadays. That may, again, been the last thing on his mind, even when he knew something was up. But then on top of that, you know, the opening that he had was a little awkward. You know, 3 Marauders is great for a punch to the Protoss's face, especially if you do get Marauder slow, which I was really surprised he didn't. I could have sworn I even saw it started, but I'd have to go back in the replay to look at. But even with Marauder slow, I don't think it would help that much. Am I feeling better from like an hour ago? No, I'm not. I am just powering through. Excuse me while I do some tidying up here. I was supposed to get a package today, and I did not get the package. It makes me very disappointed. Usually Twitch Prime is actually very reliable for its 2-day delivery. Oh well, not the biggest deal in the world. Patience is having a bit of a resurgence, isn't he? He still makes a couple of really, like, questionable decisions. But they're working out more often than not nowadays, and they're grabbing him wins. Okay. So let's get into the second game already. In the bottom left, up 1 in this best of 3, it is Patience. In the top right as the red Terran, it is GuMiHo. If anyone needs a good microwave, Lowe's is having a really good sale right now. That's a very odd thing to be specific about. Like, I guess because people usually buy microwaves for, not necessarily life, but like for 10, 20 years at a time. But hey, if the 80 of you watching need a microwave, apparently Lowe's is having a sale. Perfect, I'll buy 10. Yeah, perfect. Now, I bought a green screen Not because I'm looking to use one on my streams. I actually don't. I vastly prefer the look of a non-green screen stream. Well, it was a little hard to say. But because there's someone wants one for this cast I'm doing soon, which will be announced in due time. But anyways, barracks being proxied here is going to be something that patients will know about as he scouts the main base of GuMiHo. That is not going to be a big surprise at all. No barracks. Second gas immediately scouted as well, so you don't have to spend time looking around seeing if they faked you out. But the question is, where is that barracks? And it's going to be more than just here. Oh yeah, it's going to be lifted up into that main base. So instant Reaper to the face. Patient's going to try and hide his probe. Doesn't really ever work out, to be honest. Oh, but look at that. Oh, I guess Patience has had to deal with this before, hasn't he? Reaper is still going to be able to pop out, and there's not much that Patience can do about that. But it is going to be the fastest possible Reaper. You know, considering that automaton, he would have had to go over here, which would have been blocked off. The Reaper would have had to take an extra, like, 5 seconds at least. 6, 7, 8 seconds, something like that, to get up here to the probe line. At least it's still immediate. The Zealot can't do very much other than soak some shots. Gonna have to wait for that Stalker, which should be chronoed immediately, and it is indeed. Second Reaper is gonna be on the way, because I think why not? You have some people go for just the one Reaper, but 2 Reapers can work some magic. 1 Reaper can't. It can also be a big waste, though, and that's, you know, that's the trick, isn't it? Decent control on the Reaper so far. Almost got surrounded, but he slipped out of it. He's gotten 2 probes and lives as the Stalker pops out. But it's still taking 2 shots from it, so it might still live. Nope. That was a mistake from GuMiHo not to immediately leave. He is proxying the starport, and this is one of the safer ways to do your entire 1-1-1 proxy. Factory at home usually means you have a chance to macro out of this. But this second Reaper was absolutely not worth it, as it does die to the Stalker. Very, very bad there. Patience even maybe with a ... I think he's more so laughing at his opponent. Maybe a little bit of judgment there. Than anything that he did. But the starport is something that Patience does not know about. So this is where GuMiHo can still make up for the unfortunate opener of the Reapers being scouted and just not doing a lot of damage. 2 probes was a solid start, but really for 2 Reapers, I think you would have wanted 4 or 5, and at least one of the Reapers to live, right? Hellion actually comes in here though, all the way from across town, but it can do that. Cyclone also rallied across the way. Almost gets his own probe there, but it is cloaked Banshee, and Patience does not have a way of really scouting that out. He sees there's no low ground command center, but that doesn't say that there isn't a command center at all. There could be one over here, and he just simply wouldn't be able to scout that. And he can't scout the starport either until the Oracle pops out, and it is going to be a Stargate. This, I mean, Stargate gives you a lot of flexibility. Stargate is often, you know, back when the proxy meta was the thing, was often the thing to do. Maybe Robo was a little bit better in some circumstances over Stargate and vice versa, but Stargate would generally get you through all the tough times. And this would be no different, really. Unfortunately, the scout on the Banshee was quite late, though, so the shield battery isn't ready to go. And there's not a lot of stalkers here, but the Oracle did pop out, is ready to cast Revelation. Should it have Cloak that fast? It doesn't. And it is just going to try and sacrifice itself for as many probes as possible. It looks like it got like 6, either 5 or 6. I don't know if that Hellion got any damage done, which is not too bad, actually. Not too bad at all. Cyclone comes to save the Cloak from that Stalker and grabs the Stalker as well. We're talking about very, very few units in this early game. He scouts out, still sees the Cloak building, or the, well, Cloak finished actually, but still sees Banshees being built. Really hard to let this go, honestly, as the Terran player. And GuMiHo trying to make sure he doesn't have to let it go by getting a Phoenix here to help out with the Cyclone. The lift does enable the Oracle to definitely kill. Oh my good lord. It should kill the Cyclone. Yeah, there you go. And still have enough energy, too, to get the Revelation on the Banshee. And at one Banshee, the shield battery is going to do what it's supposed to and save all the probes. So this is, so far, still not, like, the greatest, like, straight-up damage proxy, you know, you've ever seen. But when you look at all things considered, Patience with the later Nexus, with the, you know, having all of his units defensively, not getting any counterattack damage done, GuMiHo's the one that's been able to produce 2 SCVs at a time with no need to worry. He got his command center down on location with basically no need to worry. And as he starts to worry, as his pressure really starts to let to die down, he gets a bunker and probably doesn't need to worry. So GuMiHo does get what he wants, and that's a lead here in the early game without any sacrifice of his economy. His production is still a little delayed, and it's possible that stim could have been even later, but as all things considered, it's actually a pretty decently timed stim for the full-on one-on-one proxy. Fortunately, the starport will lose its life, and he will have to rebuild another one, but he's already on top of it. Engineering Bay just finished up, immediately goes in that +1, so we'll have a really nicely timed combat shield stim +1 timing attack should he choose to do that. And you can get some missile turrets now to make sure the Phoenix don't get any easy grabs on the SCVs. Now, Patience, with the control gained back, can go ahead and start chronoing his probes and try and get fully saturated, but he has just been really messed up pacing-wise. Certainly not going to have as fast a third Nexus as you generally see in the more regular PVTs, and also still has to be very wary of an attack. He does go ahead and get a revelation on the barracks. He saw both tech labs spinning, so he knows he has a certain X amount of time for that sim to finish up before he really has to worry about an attack. And then on top of that, he can go ahead and just decide to risk it until he sees medevacs pop out, because it's usually when the Terran player goes. But that's like really not that long. Right now, with the starport having its reactor, with stim almost done, it means that Patience needs Blink and +1 right now. He needs to build an army right now, but he also still needs to worry about the future, because GuMiHo's not all-inning. He's getting a third CC on location again as he kind of bullies the Phoenix and Oracle back, and they're going to go ahead and just recall, so no chance to delay this space at all. Really nice stuff from GuMiHo, really taking control of this game. Patience the one trying to catch up. Blink is still a little ways away from finishing. GuMiHo is going for a direct attack to the face. Medevac should be following suit. There they are, getting boosted across the map. That is a 50 army supply against just barely 30 of Patience, with a couple Phoenix that might just not even be that useful. An Oracle also may not be that useful. Just basically a lot of units that could possibly not be that useful. He might have Blink, he might have +1, but even then he's going up against Bio, 2 Cyclones, combat shields +1. Everything is in favor of GuMiHo here. He is a little disjointed though, and it is on purpose. A lot of Marines to the top side. I don't know if that's the right call, but wouldn't mind to take out the Phoenix. They managed to take out one of the Cyclones, and the second Cyclone gets bopped pretty easily alongside the force fields, but here comes the run-in that he was planning to the natural, actually to the main base, but one sim's already been used, and he'll have to sim again to actually make these units worth it, or maybe not. Catches in on top of those stalkers. Not the instant blink that probably should have happened. Probes get shift-clicked as well, and that is so much probe damage. I think we're at 8 after the Banshee was all said and done, so probably around 9 there. More probes go down to the bottom side as well, as Patience gets a little caught out of position. It looks like he was planning to bring the rest of the army up to the top, and then realized he didn't have to, but he was already in a bad spot. So more probes go down, putting up to 21 probes. GuMiHo, I think, was actually playing a bit risky there. A direct attack might have had trouble busting through the force fields right here, sure, but it's also possible that that attack, you know, with the double stim, man, if it had faced stalkers, I think, like in a bit better positioning, a bit faster reaction, or just a few more stalkers, anything along those lines, I do wonder if that would have been worth it. Imagine a force field right here or something, right? I guess it's natural, it's still pretty open, but that was risky, but hell, it really paid off. Now he's going to have a +1 armor lead for the next attack. He's got a really good amount of medevacs. His third base is up and running. Got all the gases he would like as he starts building those high-tech units. Also wants to get into that 2-2, so not just going for a 3-base all-in here. Medevac drop does drop off a couple Widow Mines. Going to get a douchey shot on the top side. I think that was 5 more probes that went down. Patience still trying to get up to that charge and armor, but missing that crucial splash. He did just finish up a robotic space, so it is going to be going to Colossus. There we go. But it's one Colossus, if that, against a growing number of Marauders. That's 3 Marauders at a time with decent upgrades, and not a lot of fodder here for the Colossus, by the way. Like, they're not hefty zealots with upgrades. They're mostly stalkers and force fields, and while force fields can definitely buy time, you know, no Terran gets a Thor to break those. How much time can it really buy? And as soon as GuMiHo realizes that it is Colossus, he can start building Vikings, which right now he doesn't quite know. And honestly, right now he doesn't even nearly have to do. Like with the amount of Marauders he has in the army, okay, that was a scan to see it. He can actually just slow shine and take on the army as is, which is what he's going to do right now. That's a lot more Stalkers than what I was talking about just a minute ago as the Warpins happen, but the Liberators in a really, really good spot. Oh my god, the Liberators are so abusive. They got so many shots off, and on top of the sentries as well. I think that was target fire. Really nicely done by GuMiHo. Also just tries to pound on top of the Colossus, gets it as Patience is GGing, and the series will be tied up. Whew. That Liberator positioning, I was wondering what was going on for Patience. Like his army seemed to be a little like, what was it doing? And then I realized that he just could not get underneath the Liberators. If he had blinked in the most obvious location, he was literally blinking on top of the bio army, which is, you know, not so good. So he tries to like wrap around, but oh man, it took forever for him to get there. 2 Liberators got like 10 shots or something. Oof. Ouchies. Last map will be on Kairos Junction. Hey, Pinnacle. The last match of this best of 3 in the top left, as the blue Protoss, it is Patience. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, it is GuMiHo. Thanks for taking time to Cassie G. Always good to get your insight. Oh, thank you very much, Traveling Maverick, for the nice words. And thank you very much to Pinnacle for that 14-month resub. What is up? Patience starting things off with a proxy in game number 1. GuMiHo getting some revenge in game number 2. Again, not so much on the direct damage done. It wasn't an astounding 20 probes killed because of the Banshees. It was a decent 8, but man, it threw off Patience. It gave GuMiHo the time back at home to get his macro up without fear, without interruption, and he just kind of ran away with the game from there. Patience was always the one catching up. But no proxies in game number 3. Just a little bit of probe harassment, as Protoss do. Looks to be planning a bit of an anti-Reaper wall as I'm export over here. Oh, I see. Okay. I was gonna say, I think if it's one building, I think the Reaper has like a spot to hop up, but he's gonna go ahead and just wall like this, which is really quite cool. I guess the benefit of this, as opposed to like just straight up stopping the Reaper from hopping up, is that it's not as close to the ledge, so you know, Marauders might still be able to hit the pylon, but not Marines, something like that. But it also gives the Reaper a bit of false hope, I would say, too. It actually jumps up and is like, wait a second. That's kind of neat. So, like, and by false hope, I don't just mean, like, kind of just a silly thing, but, like, you'll see that Terrans will sometimes literally just click somewhere here, expecting to use the Reaper hop-up. So their Reaper, unlike a direct wall, which will just be like, nope, you can't do that, and they'll wrap around it, they actually get stuck here. Temporarily, of course, they can always jump down, but the Adept pops out on the left side. Reaper didn't get trapped in this little space here, and it won't be either, as GuMiHo now knows not to jump up there. But the Reaper is so damn low. That was actually very risky. Managed to get some denied mining time, though, and might even still get a probe here. He does not want to go back to the probe wall. Oh, lordy. 2 probes for 1 Reaper and a lot of lost mining time. Well, for this early in the game anyways. And is barely going to be able to escape because the Adept's going across the map. It's going to reach a Marauder, though. This is the opening GuMiHo was trying to do in the first game, but I guess when he figured out that something was going a little amiss, he decided not to get Marauder slow. I could have sworn I saw that started, but it also could have been just like an expectation of mine in that first game. I'd have to rewatch it. And it's also such a cheap and fast upgrade. I'd be really surprised if you ever canceled it, if this is your plan. It's 50-50, and it's like one of the fastest upgrades in the game. Don't expect me to tell you what, how many seconds, but it's definitely really, really fast. So I'm surprised he didn't get it, but he definitely gets it here. I talked also about how this can go into an attack, and usually does. Like, the Marauder opener might, trip up someone who's thinking that the Adept pressure can do something, but the Marauder opener can definitely trip up a Protoss who expects to be able to do what they want in the early game. And actually, Patience, despite seeing a Marauder, decided to tackle them aggressively, which, okay, works out okay. If the Adept had been there, it might have been a little bit better of a time. All things considered, Marauders and Stalkers really quite close in their expense. Marauders still cheaper, though, with the gas being cheaper. And minerals by 25, both by 25, right? Anyways. Yeah, still ends up being a little favorable for GuMiHo there. Oh, but a nice tag on that one Marauder. If the Adept goes down, you're not too worried about the Adept, but another Stalker's gonna go down here because of those concussive shells. Or is it? Ooh, okay, could have Patience stopped paying attention, but GuMiHo didn't. Okay. Alright, okay. Resources lost does still favor our Terran player, and of course behind all that he was getting stim. Should be getting combat shields quite soon as well. +1. Actually going into a 3-racks opener, so the factory starport tech is going to be later than most other PVTs. And we kind of have, Patience doing something a little... well, not helpful right now, basically. Like, he doesn't actually need a wall. If this was factory and a couple of, like, Hellions coming out, then that's helpful, but actually against what he's up against, the wall doesn't really do very much. I suppose it doesn't do much to hurt him either, though, so maybe not the most important thing to note out. Shield battery. He saw more Marauders. Not so much to tell him that it's a 3-racks, though, and he's still in the dark about that, but that would explain his caution. He's in the dark. He doesn't have any way of seeing what his opponent's doing, except just now the DT. The Darktron was finishing up as I was talking about that Marauder opener, and he actually immediately sent out the DT from his own base. Sure, but still surprising our Terran here. Actually, maybe even more so surprising our Terran, because 2-base DT with a proxy pylon usually hits around 5 minutes. And this hit just a little bit later, so maybe that's the scan not saved, right? Does a bit of damage, and then he's even able to escape, evens up the workers lost. And now GuMiHo knows that there are DTs, but that could have been a lot worse. And without a Warp Prism, without the split of 2 DTs, it doesn't do super much. And also still didn't get that scout, by the way, but I guess what it did scout was how many bio units were there, giving a little bit more indication that, hey, it's going to be a 3-racks, so that's a lot of bio units with later medevacs, but still with all their upgrades and already starting things off in such an early part of the game with this many Marauders. It's going to be chunky. It's going to be real chunky. Pylon being placed probably for anti-medevac defense. Observer in the middle of the map, see exactly where the army's coming through. Patience, not eager to jump to a 3rd base, has double upgrades and Blink and Colossus on the way. That's a lot to invest into early on, so you're not going to have a very big army to protect it. So you're getting that 3rd Nexus, then, any of those charge Blink openers, or even like 1 Forge Colossus expands. But I would say that that's actually very good against someone who's doing 3-racks. Like, you are not going to be split apart. Well, actually, hold on. No, you know what? I was thinking of a 2-on-1 for some reason. The 3-racks still has a lot of power just, like, straight up attacking into someone. But I guess the point is, right, 1, he's not going to get split apart by any medevac drops, which is great. You only have 2 bases to defend. The 3rd can be canceled if you kind of make a mistake. But then also, 2, doesn't have to worry about being caught out in the open with a concave. You can go defend behind your wall that you made, right? And there's no way that bio gets through that. So it's still conservative play against something that is a really big first punch, but then gets a little more manageable as time goes on. And with that 3rd Nexus, sure, you don't have as many gateway units. You don't have a super big gateway blossom. You still have a powerful army since you're going to have 2 Colossus, double upgrades, and charge finishing up. GuMiHo, not having gotten a scout in quite some time, was just waiting for his medevacs to finish. Also going to be a little wary, of any harassment that could be coming through. Patience really expanded his vision of the map, by the way. Not just pylon to the north, but also to the east and to the south. And I think another observer being placed, another pylon being placed. He will find a 3rd CC being produced, which is great for him. not just to harass it, and a quick recall there, really nice, but also to confirm that it's not going to be an SCV pool. Scan... was that an observer? Maybe it was a DT. No, the DT's right there. I don't know what that was. I guess he thought he saw an observer. But DT, by the way, being really annoying. This is what GuMiHo would have to worry about, is going to have to worry about for the rest of this game. And it is buying patience a bit of time. GuMiHo's still without any knowledge, really. I guess he did see the third Nexus building. And has had to... he's got to assume that it was Colossus based off that third. If he didn't actually see any Colossus. We know Vikings being produced. And since it has been quite some time since I was talking about that small army, that was like 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, now we actually have a lot of units helping to protect those Colossus. A third Colossus even on the way. Don't forget the upgrades are currently even, but will eventually be in the Protoss's favor. Patience certainly has the army to deflect GuMiHo. And GuMiHo, while his Marauder count was decent, just that it had no actual ability to attack into Patience with how he had built, how slowly he got his third, how long it took for him to get into a vulnerable position. If Patience is out here with half the Stalkers, half the Zealots, well, of course GuMiHo jumps on top of it, but now he has a really good army. He is seeing an opportunity to come in here. 3 Liberators, 4 Liberators actually are going to be able to help out defensively. Not too many Stalkers, so I think GuMiHo will be fine here. But that Viking count needs to grow. You can only depend on Liberators for so long and in so many different scenarios, I suppose. Like, he could have continued building Liberators and would have had like 8 or 9, which would have provided a great defense on 3 bases, but then he would have been tugged this way, that way, and Patience would have out-expanded him as he played a super defensive game. To get those Vikings, to get the mobility, to get something that actually directly takes care of the Colossus is usually the way Terrans want to play nowadays. If you are going to go for just pure Liberator, you're going to see faster upgrades, you're going to see, you know, Liberator range probably, or at least quadruple Liberator production. Actually seeing an opportunity to attack in here, gets really aggressive, tries to use the Liberators for an attack on the Colossus, but I would have liked this so much better if GuMiHo had waited for these 4 Vikings. Instead, just letting his army go up against these force fields, so a lot of damage was taken there. From 4 Colossus, that's a lot of damage. And his Liberator count is then set back down to 1. This is not looking good for GuMiHo. I mean, again, he was already in a tricky spot, being pushed back so far into his own base. Having that late response to the Colossus, having a late attack at all. But that attempt at the defense was very awkward. Very awkward indeed. Patience takes this series with game number 3. Yeah, that was...